All right. Excuse me. I was trying to say, let's get started. I my throat was fine, and as soon as I hit go live, I got a frog in my throat. So typical, typical. Let me take a drink of my water. Hope everybody's doing good. I know it hasn't been that long since we streamed, but hope you had a wonderful day. Otherwise, it's beautiful here in San Jose. What time is it? About 6:30. My Giants are about to start. They're on a bit of a winning streak. I want to say they've won 3 in a row, so hopefully they win again tonight. This is part 2 of our portrait of Nathana. I think that's the way these sessions are going to shape up. We'll see. I feel pretty good tonight, but I still don't feel like we're going to end it. I kind of need a session to sketch, it feels like. And then a session to kind of do the block in, and then the third session to do things like the eyes and finishing touches. So that seems to be the way things are shaking out. So let's continue to do it. If I feel great at the end of our block in session tonight, maybe we'll go a little bit farther. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Let's see. My cameras look good. And I think what we'll do too is I'll put a Google Doc in the folder that I share out that has the source images or the reference images. I'll put a Google Doc in there that has my palette colors and the brushes that I use and things like that for those of you that like to paint along. The palette, the panels that I use. I bought some. I also, if I use a canvas, like it seems like if I get up over 16, if I get up to 16 by 24, I think canvases are better because panels tend to, even these aluminum ones, they look pretty straight, but I think they'll be cost prohibitive if I get much bigger than what I use. This, for instance, is an aluminum panel, but what I'm saying is, instead of listing out my brushes and my palette of colors every time, I'll put a Google Doc in our Google share. That being said, I think so. Session 1 was we did the sketch. Session 2 we'll do the block in, and I think it'd be appropriate to list out my colors again at least tonight for that. I also threw this sketch into Procreate. Something I can't tell real time usually, but I'm so much better at sketching than I've ever been. It seems like every portrait I do, I get a little more accurate. But just like what usually happens is I'll get to where I think I'm done with a sketch, and I'll know that there's something wrong with it, but I won't know exactly what's wrong with it. So a tool that I use is Procreate. So I'm not going to show you how to use Procreate, but I'll show you how I used Procreate to check the accuracy of my painting versus the accuracy of my painting versus the source image. We didn't do too bad actually, but yes, as soon as I saw it in Procreate, it was pretty obvious what the issue was. I kind of felt that either my nose was too long or my eyes were too close together, and that there was something not quite right about the lips and the eyebrow, but I wasn't exactly sure what it was. And even though I am getting so much better at the sketching phase, I still need a little bit of help. I'd probably been fine without it, but you'll see when I show you my my Procreate overlay where the issue was. So why don't we do that first, actually? So what I do, without showing you how to do it, there's Chelsea Lang has a video on how she uses Procreate and Photoshop to check her images, to check her paintings against her images. I've linked that in previous videos. I'll link it again in this video at some point for you to watch in your own time. But so what I do is I throw the source image in Procreate, and then I throw a copy of my painting an image of my painting. So when I get done, I'll take a picture with my iPhone. This is the way we used to take pictures. I'll take a picture with my iPhone, and what I'll do is I'll create when it imports it in that image into Procreate, it'll create a layer on top of my source image. And then what I do is I'll flip back and forth between the layers. And if you do it fast enough, you could kind of see, if you kind of align the eyes and align, the bottom of the nose and maybe the lips and stuff, you could kind of see that there's something wrong. But I think if I have time, like I wouldn't do this in the studio, but if I have time and I'm just watching baseball on my couch or something, what I'll do is I'll do an outline of the source image on a third layer. I'll do an outline in a bright colored pencil or, Procreate pencil or pen. And then what I'll do is I'll overlay that on top of my source image. And then what I end up is this. And as you can see, and I'm super proud of myself. I mean, my painting is even a different size than my iPad, so for me to be as accurate as I am, talking and painting and my dog running around and trying to think about what I want to talk about next and still being as accurate as I am is pretty cool. Painting is hard. You guys, if you're watching this, you know how hard drawing and painting is, but I'm looking down at my laptop, by the way. But as accurate as I am getting, you can see that right eye is just too close. The nose was perfect. The lips were in the right spot, but maybe a little too narrow. But everything else is pretty perfect. I got a little crazy on the lower left, the width of the hair, but that's so easy to fix. And so what I did, as soon as I did the measurement, or as soon as I followed this process, I just went over to my panel and I just fixed it real quick. It's a lot easier to do when everything's wet. It was a little bit dry. My painting was actually a little bit dry, so it was a little harder. But I went back and I kind of adjusted the things that were wrong. And the eye, looking at the eye now today, it's not quite right. But these are all things that we can fix while we're painting. The fixes that I have to make now are just minor adjustments that I'll just do while we're adding color. I'm not the kind of person, and I don't think I'll ever be the kind of person to make a full-blown underpainting. Basically a underpainting, to determine my values. I mean, we'll see. I watched David Gray do it. He spent 2 days doing kind of an underpainting and a block in, and there's definitely some value. If you look at David Gray's paintings, they are so accurate that there's obviously value in it, but it's not really my style of painting. In my mind, I want to be an alla prima painter where I've got loose, expressive brushstrokes, that it doesn't look like a photograph, that it actually looks like a painting, that you can see some brushstrokes, that you can tell that it's a painting. That's more my style. And then my attention span, this has turned out to be fine, doing a painting in 3 sittings, especially now that I got my home easel. It's totally doable for me, but even now, just the second sitting on this painting, I'm already thinking about what I want to do next. I'm not saying that I'm bored with this one. I'm excited to see how it ends up. But spending a week or weeks on paintings just doesn't interest me. I really like the kind of loose expressive style of, what we call alla prima, which is basically wet on wet. And technically it's supposed to be in one session, depending on who you ask. But, and that's what we do on Wednesday night. So tomorrow night, actually, ironically, or coincidentally, Nathana is our model tomorrow night. I don't think I'll have this done to show her, but I told her that I was painting it, and I'll just send her, I'll tag her when I post it on Instagram. I post everything on Instagram, no matter how good or bad it turns out. But think there is a difference, and I noticed. We always talk about amongst us how much better painting from life is than painting from photographs or images, and I knew that. I definitely like the paintings from life better than the ones that I see of photographs. And I always wondered, like, what is actually the difference? Like, I could tell what the difference. I could tell when somebody's painted a painting from life or when they painted it from a photo. At least I think I could tell. And I was thinking the other day, and I've actually got a painting from life right here from the Jiaming Wu workshop. And I think the most obvious difference is like where you would paint. If you're painting from an image, you tend to paint like everything. Like you paint all the lines of the of the eyelids. You paint the iris and the pupil, and you paint all the all the little wrinkles in the lips, and you paint the hairs, individual hairs. In like paintings from life, this is my workshop painting. If you could see it, but like there's no pupil. There's barely there's barely even an eye. The eye is just kind of that black area under the eyelid, and the eyelid is even. I mean, it's just this left eyelid here is just a little swath of pink. And I remember painting it. And I think the difference, and I think the reason why the paintings turn out that way is because you just can't see that stuff. If you're standing 10 feet away from the model, you just can't see that stuff. And I'm notorious for, I'm the host, so I tend to talk to the model a bit, and I ask questions. Most of it is just, high level, hey, how's your day job going? What other kind of gigs you got going on? But I also am notorious. I'm the guy that always asks the model what color their eyes are. Like if you look at Nathana, I mean, her eyes are a little blue, a little green, depending on, what lights we have set up in the studio, but like in the painting from life, it doesn't matter what the hell color her eyes are. And this is, who's the model? Lee. I couldn't tell you what color Lee's eyes are because, when you're painting from life, it just doesn't matter. You just kind of suggest it. I think in painting from life, the important things are values, and the kind of the 3D effect. But when you paint from images or photographs, it seems to be that the focus is more on, accuracy and getting all the details of the eye in, and the eyelids and the eyelashes and the eyebrows and the iris and the pupil and the little black ring around the iris and the tear duct. Like, there's no tear duct. There's no tear duct in this painting. And traditionally, this is what you'll see, even the best artists that come out of our paint from life sessions on Wednesday nights. I mean, that's the way their portraits look. I like these better. I think in this style, what I like better is there's volume. Like I really feel like her face is round, like a sphere or like an egg. And there's kind of a magic in that, taking a 2D surface and making it appear three-dimensional. I think that's kind of one of the magic parts about paintings. When I hold this in my hands and I stare at it, or I even look at it, it just looks like magic to me. It's like, I can't believe that this is a 2D surface, and like you feel like, you could feel the roundness of her face. And that's the obsession, that kicks off, not just an obsession, but the compulsion to paint, for me at least. Once I remember holding that first portrait in my hand, and I was a hardcore landscape only artist, but boy, there's something about holding that first portrait that looks like it has volume in your hands, and realizing that you created it. It definitely creates kind of a compulsion to want to keep doing it and to see how much better you can get at it. But anyways, a lot of talking tonight. So much for finishing this thing. So let's quickly go through my palette like I said I would. Since tonight is a color night, there's not much sense doing it on sketch night because we just use raw umber. I have a little solvent holder in my palette that is perfect for my glass of water. My solvent is in a can, kind of over here. You can't quite see it, but anyways, colors from, and I arranged them kind of from just from light to dark. I think my my portable, my Strata Pashad or palette box is arranged pretty similarly. It's a smaller surface, so I've got them. It's more of a square that I have them arranged in kind of this semi-triangle. But titanium white, I use when I'm at home. I like to use this Griffin Alkyd titanium white. It's got a drying agent in it. That Alkyd is kind of the fast drying agent. So, so I like that because you kind of mix. It seems like you mix a little bit of that white into everything. I'm doing that less and less, but it just makes things dry a little faster. And then having the Gamsol in my medium, it's 2/3 Gamsol, 1/3 linseed oil. That seems to make things dry a little faster too. So like I paint every other day, it seems like. And usually every other day my painting is dry enough to where it's tacky, especially in my notebooks. The notebooks, even though I gesso the pages, they seem to dry pretty good in about 2 days, or at least dry enough to where I feel like I'm painting on a dry surface the next time. So titanium white, cad lemon. I don't use very much cad lemon at all. I use it more for landscape painting. It's really nice for like flowers, like those mustard flowers, and it's nice for making greens with. I don't really use very much of it, but cad lemon, cad orange, however, or cad yellow, however, I use quite a bit. In trees, it's kind of makes a little more natural green, and I've been using it more in skin tones. Kind of on this bottom part of Nathana's cheeks is orange. Kind of up here in the shadow is orange. The transparent red oxide kind of is a little bit orangey, but I would probably add a little bit of that cad yellow in there. It's kind of weird. I call it orange because even though it's called yellow, it is absolutely orange. It is absolutely more orange than you see it compared to the cad lemon. It's definitely orange. I kind of mix. I go between yellow ochre and golden ochre. I bought a gallon worth of gold ochre or yellow ochre because it's pretty famous for being used, or pretty popular to use in skin tones. And then I paint once in a while, and I've taken workshops from a guy that swears by golden ochre. Scott Hamill is the guy that I'm talking about. He's very popular here in the Bay Area for kind of a coastal painter and a landscape artist. But he swears by gold ochre versus yellow ochre. He says that gold ochre is a cleaner color, and that you can make yellow ochre out of gold ochre, but you can't make gold ochre out of yellow ochre. So depending on what's handy, I bought a gallon of yellow ochre, and I'm not going to throw it away, and I can't tell the difference. Yellow ochre might seem a little more opaque, if anything, but they're pretty much, to me, they're interchangeable. Sorry, Scott, I can't tell the difference, buddy. Cad orange is a David Gray color. He uses this cad orange in skin tones. I have it out here. I use it. I go through it, but as you can see, I got a big pile of it, and I hardly touch it at all. Cad red, I use a ton. This is cad red light, actually. It's a little lighter and a little oranger than just cad red. Cad red's a little dark for me, and it seems like Nathana's lips. If you look in the source image, that's just as I'm looking at him, I'm like, that's going to be 90% cad red. That last painting we used a ton of cad orange and a ton of cad red in Jan's hair and in her head wrap or handkerchief. Alizarin Crimson Permanent. You want to get the permanent because it's more color fast. So over time, just regular alizarin Crimson will darken. So get alizarin Crimson Permanent. It's ironically it's the same cost, and even though out of the tube you won't notice a difference, but over time, alizarin Crimson that isn't permanent will darken. Transparent red oxide, I use a ton of it. I probably use that almost probably second more than any other color. Um, the second most out of any other color. I'm looking to my right, and I've got just big giant tubes of it. I go through it, so much of it. I seem to use it in everything. The skin tone, hair. I'm looking at Nathana now, and her hair is going to have so much of this color in it. I've been using a convenience color that I'll get to for the skin tones, but before I was buying those convenience colors, I would go through so much of this transparent red oxide. Raw umber I've been using since the great David Gray workshop, as well as the Xiaoming Wu workshop. It's a kind of a dark brown, but it's use it for everything. I use this. I love it to sketch with. It's going to be in Nathana's hair. I'm using it to make my blacks with. Love raw umber. And then this is actually my tube of raw umber, and I've got for my portable pack, I've only got a couple colors that I use this big giant tube for because they're heavy, and I absolutely have one of raw umber. Light blue, this is a Xiaoming Wu color. I'm using that a lot lately, and then I'm using it to cool colors. But I'll use it for her eyes, for Nathana's eyes, especially if you can see on her left eye, the lower left, basically the highlights, basically the light part of the iris is opposite the catch light. It's got that light blue in it. But then, like I said, I also use it to cool down colors. Next to it, kind of a staple in everyone's palette is French ultramarine blue. You see, a lot of people use cobalt blue as well. I don't use cobalt blue very often. It's not a very powerful color, and I think, the things that I would use the cobalt blue with, I could use this light blue for mixing. So French ultramarine blue, and it's for making blacks. I use French ultramarine blue and raw umber now, and it makes a really dark black. I do have some ivory black on my palette. Is the next color. You can't quite see it. Let me slide this over just a little bit. Maybe I can move this over a little bit too. I don't use ivory black that much. I've got gallons of it as well. I used to use it a lot. There's no stigma against it, but I primarily will use it for, like, if you look, the blackest things in this painting of Nathana are going to be her pupil. I like to use ivory black in that just because it makes the catch lights pop. Her eyelashes above her eyes, close to her eyes, are going to be ivory black, and then kind of the border of her hair, in some spots, in the darkest spots, we're gonna use ivory black, and we'll probably mix in a little bit of she's got kind of a warm reddish color to her hair. I think in person, you'd probably call her hair burgundy. In this picture, it looks black, but we use some of that ivory black for that. And then I've got my convenience colors that we've talked about a lot, and I'm going to use a ton of this today. So it's and I know I've shown it to you before, but it's rosy beige, and it's just Blick's studio color for the pink color, and that's basically what I've been using for flesh tones lately. It's kind of like I found a cheat code for flesh tones, at least for, I'm even using it for darker skinned women, just mixing it in with, like, say, the raw umber and the transparent red oxide. And then finally, raw umber. I've been using, I'm sorry, got the wrong tube. Buff titanium is the color that I meant to say. And I've got a tube of it over here, and I know I've shown you guys before. But we got to keep that handy because we use a lot of buff titanium these days. And so, like I said, I've been using it kind of as a kind of a replacement for a lot of the titanium white that I'm using. And, you know, that's kind of this under her eye is going to have a lot of it mixed into it. You know, her highlights are going to have a lot of it mixed into it. You know, right here, right here. Basically, all of the lightest spots in Nathana are going to have a lot of this buff titanium in it. You absolutely don't need those last two colors, but Xiaoming Wu uses them. Eric Fei Guan uses it, who's a really popular, wonderful artist that paints with us on a couple Wednesday nights a month. If those guys use it and have no problems with using it as a cheat color, I have no problem with using it, and you shouldn't either. I mean, painting is so hard regardless of your tools or your paint or your brushes. Painting is one of the hardest things that I've ever done, and to do it well. So any help that you can get, I personally have no problem with. And like I said, Xiaoming Wu is probably the best artist I've ever painted with or taken a workshop from. Eric Fei Guan is, you know, right up there with him. So if they're using those cheat colors, I got no problem using them either. You shouldn't either. So I usually start dark to light. So we would start kind of with the sides of her face. And then what I'll do is I'll put in the back, you know, I'll at least do the outline of the hair, you know, so that we could kind of move those lines in and out. And then, you know, the dark ring around the hair will help us judge our skin tones. Not judge them, but make sure it kind of helps us check our skin tones. So let's get started. Why don't we start with our 1-inch brush. This is from Brian Mark Taylor's kit. So let's get started. Speaking of, I just got a text from Nathana and I can't remember why. I just, on my watch, I just see thank you. All right. So and then I'll use, instead of Gamsol, I'm going to use my medium, pure Gamsol. I'm going to start with my medium. And, whoop, there's that text. Oh, we were chatting about AI stuff earlier. That's why she's texting. Oh, she's wearing a red dress tomorrow night. And I asked her if she could wear it. She posted it in one of her Instagram pictures. For privacy purposes, I'm not going to give you that. Her first name is good enough. But if you paint with us on Wednesdays, you met Nathana before. But she posted a picture in this red dress. And I was going to have her do short pose figure. Clothed figure, and she posted this picture of her in this red dress, and I immediately was like, I think I'd rather try to attempt a painting of that. As you can tell, she's beautiful. Just try to imagine what she looks like in a form-fitting kind of thin strap red dress. And but anyways, I asked her if she would be interested in just doing a long pose session with that dress, and she was all for it. She actually suggested, she's like, I got a blue dress that's even better, but she couldn't find it, so we're going with the red dress. But anyways, we got to talking about AI because I told her when I saw that picture of the red dress, I was trying to get Chat GPT and Midjourney, which are two AI tools that I've been using lately, just to kind of help me, kind of like I'm using it to check things. Like the picture of her in the red dress was just kind of from her waist up, you know. And I've been really interested in Jiaoming Wu lately, and he paints kind of like a lot of long flowing dresses, usually low cut tops. I don't really need breasts, but you can see a lot of their skin, you know, their shoulder, the model shoulders and you know, calves and thighs, you know, upper thighs and things like that. And the image that Nathana had was just basically from her waist up. So what you could do is you could take the source image, throw it into Midjourney, get a little help from Chat GPT to help you with the prompts in Midjourney, and then I can basically get a very similar image of Nathana in basically kind of full figure. And it's not, Midjourney won't let you do anything even PG-13, let alone R, but what it does is it allows me to see what somebody who looks a lot like Nathana, so black hair, green eyes, kind of her body type, and what she would look like wearing a red dress from head to toe. And you could use prompts like, you know, open toe shoes, you know, to make sure that it shows you, you know, basically the full figure. But anyways, I'd sent her some pictures that I'd made in ChatGPT in Midjourney, and she was saying that AI is awesome and incredible. And so I was asking her, well, I can't remember what her day job is, but I was just asking her what she was using AI for. And no, I think she's replying. And so right now, all I've been using pretty much is just the rosy beige. To darken it up, I'm going to use. Can you guys see that? There's a little bit of glare on my palette. I'm sorry, but to darken it up, I'm going to use the raw umber. So that's going to be kind of, and I'll mix that in at the top of my pile. And I'm going to go out into her hair a little bit, knowing that we're going to cover that up. Got like a little dingleberry. And as I'm looking at that, I'm like, that could be warmer. So I'm going to reach into my transparent red oxide and see if I can warm that up a little bit. And I got no problem going in the hair a little, because we're going to bring that hair out. And personally, I think it could be even more transparent red oxide. So this is where the artist comes in. Yes, I could have made the whole painting with my cheek colors, but then it would look flat. But now we're making some evaluations and some judgments, and my judgment is that I would like it to be a little bit warmer. And I think that kind of comes out all the way out here. And while I got that warm color on my brush, let's do some more of her, let's follow this line all the way down. See, kind of in this section though, if you look in the source image, it's so red. I mean, that's even a little bit of a, that might be a little bit of a cad red. And we might go back and use cad red to really make that pop. For now, we're not going to fuss. For now, the goal is to block this in, which basically to me means cover the canvas, or cover, in this case, a panel. Cover the panel. Not the fuss. Let's get some of this under her, this darkness under her chin a little bit. And that's this line here I've got in the, on the panel is the shadow that goes under her chin. And I think for midtones, the goal for me, sorry, I'm trying not to say goal so much, but the objective for me is to get kind of the mid color, or the base color, or the local color. So I think local color is probably the best way to say it. So the local color is the color of an object, absent of, a bright light source or a heavy shadow. It's basically the color of something, in its natural environment. I should probably look up that definition, but can't help but fuss a little bit. Fussing is part of the fun of painting. But by no means should we go much smaller than this 1-inch brush. Especially, so this panel is, I believe it's 11, what is it? I think it's 11 by 17. So especially on a panel this big, try as much as possible not to go any smaller than your bigger. I don't want to say your biggest brush because I don't have no idea what brushes you have, but I try not to go any smaller than my 1-inch brush. And I'm supposed to be using my Xiaoming Wu brush that you can see is even bigger. It's more like about an inch and a quarter, whatever 30 millimeter converts to. But I'm going to try for this session to use this brush for the entire sitting, and you should too. I went plein air painting on Saturday, I think I told you guys, and in the time that a lot of people there painted one little painting, albeit that little painting might have been better than mine, I painted two what I thought were really nice paintings. And people ask me all the time these days, how do you paint so fast? And I don't paint fast. Like, I'm not trying to race or anything. But I use a large brush for as long as I possibly can. And I'm just gonna and then I also, in the block in, I'll use colors. So if I've got this darker pile mixed that's that I could use in other places, that also makes me efficient as well, is to, it would be silly for me, but I used to do it, is, paint here and then say, okay, I'm going to paint the bottom under her lip now. That needs to be darker, before I would clean my brush off, wipe it all down, and then mix that darker color. And then I'd get that spot done, and then I'd go to another spot that's lighter, and then I would, I'm mixing all these colors, but but I had it on my brush, so there's no sense. There's really no sense in just mixing it again. I'm fussing a little bit, but that's fine. I also try. I'm not blending for the sake of blending. What I'm doing this for is to knock down ridges, because I'm always leery. Like I've got some ridges in the hairline, and now those ridges will always show through. I'm not the kind of painter that puts on big giant globs of paint. That is one criticism of my art. Usually people will say, get some more paint on there. So since I do paint kind of light, and I do paint really only in about 3 sessions and no more, my paint can be a little thin, and those ridges will stick through, or they'll show through. So kind of in line with what I'm saying. We're using this color, so let's just use it wherever we can. Let me make sure I'm not blocking. It's a little weird that this section is dark. So here's a spot where I'm like, I want to see this lighter, and I want to see this lighter. So in the past, I would jump to another color, and I could have another brush with that color in my hand. But let's just see how far we can get with just this one color. As I say that, I'm going to mix this a little bit lighter. And regardless of the photo, this section of the eye is usually a little bit darker, kind of where this forehead is, or brow ridge is. And then the highlight starts kind of about here and goes down. This is probably a little too dark. Man, I've been talking a lot. We haven't gotten very far in this painting, but that's fine. Let's get a little bit of this under here, where our hair is going to be. Carry that all the way through. My Giants game is still 0-0. Which to me just is good, because that means the Giants aren't losing. I'm looking down to the left, so I could resets my eyes to see what I could see when I look down to the left is the image that you guys are seeing. And it kind of helps me reset my eyes a little bit. It's basically, your eyes kind of get a fatigue to them when you look at an image kind of in the same perspective for a long time. And it's such a good tool to have, like a mirror or another way to look at that image. You'll see even in our painting from life sessions on Wednesdays, even the best artist will pull a mirror out or take a picture with their iPhone and then look at the image on their iPhone just to get a different perspective. Kind of like it kind of resets your eyes. We'll go a little bit lighter, not quite highlight light, but let's get the rest of this neck in. We're going to do a little trick. This is something that always kind of trips me out. We'll do a little trick. We'll get all the flesh tones in here as much as possible. And then we're going to fill in her hair. And what I'll invite you to do is note the time in the video. Like right now, when I look at what you guys see and I look at the source image, the skin tone is a lot oranger and a lot darker. When we put that hair in, I invite you, and I don't want to prime you, but it's always interesting to me that when I put the dark hair in, how it's going to lighten up these skin tones. That color skin relative to the black hair is going to lighten up the skin. It's kind of an optical illusion, but I'll invite you guys to try it. I am going to lighten a lot of this up. Remember, I'm trying to just use the color that I have on my brush, which is fine for kind of a base color. Again, my goal is to cover the canvas. And I know I keep saying canvas, but I mean, in this case, it's a panel. Don't be afraid to paint out of the lines. You know, with this big giant brush, we're going to cut into her eyebrows a little bit. We're going to cut into her eyes a little bit. But that's the cool thing about oil painting, or it's almost kind of a feature of oil painting, to where you just kind of keep cutting back and forth into, you know, you cut between the face and the hair, you cut between the lips and the chin, and it's just kind of that's just kind of the process of oil painting, if you ask me. So like with this 1-inch brush, I can't help but cut into that hair, but I know that I'm going to go back. I know that I'm going to be going back and cutting into her face with her hair. So this whole line is going to be covered back up with hair. So no need to worry about it now. The thing though is you want to do it when it's wet. You don't leave it jacked up like that and let it dry, because then you'll get those ridges that I was talking about earlier. And I personally don't like those ridges. It's fine if the ridges are a part of the style, like my Matt Talbert painting. Like you could really see he's got high ridges and tons of paint and big giant brush strokes, big thick juicy brush strokes. But that's his style. And the whole painting, it's uniform across the whole painting. And I'm just to kind of knock down the white of that eye, I'm just gonna paint over it a little bit. Down below is a little lighter. Kind of goes up here. And I know you guys are saying she looks like a tomato. I know we gotta fix a lot of that. And we will. So this is very light, a lot lighter than what I've got on my brush. Mr. Homer giants her head. Nice. Tyro Strata scored. I don't know how he scored though. All right. Just knock down that ridge. We talked about using, instead of blending between colors, you mix the color that's in between the two colors. The problem with this brush though is it makes that really hard line. So I want to knock that down. And if I use it too straight, it's kind of like a squeegee. And wherever I push my brush down, it's kind of like a squeegee. That's what all those lines are. But we're not going to fuss with that. Her eyebrow kind of goes up and out of her hair. But we'll worry about that in a bit. Let's get that highlight down through the center of her nose. I may take a little break. Let's see, we're about an hour in. I may take a little break. It's hot in here. I don't know if I want to turn down the AC a bit or open a window. I think I'll open a window. Yeah, why don't we do that? Let me get this last bit of her septum in here, and then I'll just take a really quick break, and then we'll come back and we'll put the hair on. Take a break from her face. Take a break from her face. Let her eyes adjust a little bit. Reply to some of my texts. Ooh, my AC just come on. Alexa, what's the temperature in the room?
The living room temperature is 69 degrees.
That's not too bad. I think with the sun going down, I'm going to open a window and turn off the AC. I'm just going to knock down that a little bit. Look at Sean Mania is pitching for us. Oh, there was some talk about us using a an opener tonight. I think Brebbia was the opener slash starter. It's only the third inning, top of the third, and we've already swapped out our pitcher, who for 3 innings was holding a shutout. So they're doing that starter thing. I guess they're trying to get baseball to quit making it possible to use an opener. All right, let's take a little break. I'm gonna put you guys on mute. Let's do 5 minutes. Alright, we back. So while we were away, St. Louis scored a run, so now it's tied 1-1. Gosh darn it. Alright, let's do this hair. I am going to use my big Zhao Ming Wu brush. I think I got to remember that this is the best place to stuff. So it's about 1 inch and a quarter, and we'll do the hair. So her hair isn't jet black. It's burgundy, but man, it's dark burgundy. And so I think for burgundy, we'll start with transparent red oxide. And I might dip a little bit of black in there. See how that looks. Ooh. So that's... So by not washing my favorite Zhao Ming Wu brush, it doesn't form to a chisel. The bristles are splayed. So today all we use it for is our hair. So even if I try to make it a chisel, it's not making a chisel. Oh, there it is. That's kind of a chisel. But I'll wash it tonight. And then we're going to get this medium cup right over here because we're going to be using a lot of that medium. And it's okay again to cut into her face. Because like I was saying earlier, we're going to be cutting back and forth. Oh, and then note the time. Note what I said before about checking back and seeing if adding this black lightens things up a bit. I was sitting in my kitchen. That's why I'm coughing now, because I was sitting in my kitchen eating Spanish rice, looking at my painting during the break, and it doesn't look too bad. It looks terrible up this close, but it doesn't look too bad from afar. And just like we cut into the face with the hair, and we cut into the hair with the face, we could use the background to cut back into the hair. Because like even now I'm like, oh, going a little bit wide right there in the hair, which all that means is now I got to cut back into the hair with the background. And I could even go bigger, a bigger brush than this for this type of thing, but my next biggest brush is Zhao Ming Wu, and it's almost twice as big, so I'm not quite ready to jump up that big yet. I don't think I've even used that brush. Oh, I used it on that big 16 by, was it 16 by 24? And this definitely goes in a little bit. So painting is magic. Painting is magic. Being a little careful here, because even though I know I can go back and fix it, why do it if you don't have to? So she's got kind of a, what's it called when the corners of a photograph or a painting are darker? Vignette? It's got kind of a vignette going down here in the bottom right. Well, let's just finish that section up. Did I turn the mute back off? Yep, good. This is pretty black right here. Under her chin on this left is pretty black. And I also see up on this, in this section of the source image, she's got kind of a blue light going, kind of a blue highlight going. I want to add some of that, but let's not do that. Let's finish our block in like we said we were going to do. So let's get the background in too. So I'm going to start a new pile over here. And I think that top right, let's work on a little bit. So I see cad red. I'm using our hair mixture a little bit too, like I didn't clean my brush at all. So I'm using our hair mixture as kind of a base. Because I think her hair is going to blend in a little bit. That'll kind of help with the illusion of form. Kind of her hair rotating back and kind of disappearing into the background. So no need for a hard line there. It gets a little yellow towards the bottom. So let's get some of that cad yellow in there that looks a little orangey. That's the color I see down here. It kind of got a mustard color. And I'm dipping back into the hair a little bit, so we'll go back and we'll fix that. I am going to get this mustard color off my brush because I want to get some more red up on the top. Redder, redder, redder. Pretty fouled my medium pretty well. But let's get some in there. That might be a little too much. Screwed up and had a couple bites of rice on my little 5-minute break, and now I'm all flammed up. I forgot how much solvent this brush holds, and now my hands are all foul. All right, let's fix that hairline real quick. We'll go back to our dark pile here. The problem is when you got that, introduce that Gamsol back into the brush, you see that brush stroke, it's picking up paint. All right. Let's go with that for now. And then, so this left side for the background, it starts out kind of warm yellow. It starts out kind of warm yellow, and then it moves to kind of a cool yellow. Why don't we just try it, and if we don't like it, we'll fix it. I just cleaned this color out of my brush, and that's kind of where it starts up here. I was just thinking my dog is being kind of quiet tonight. Quieter than usual. But now I hear her licking herself over there, so it was a good run while it lasted. I just got a couple clamps. Clamps holding my panel on. Let's keep moving down. I want to say I'm going to add a little bit of this buff titanium instead of white to lighten this up. I like that. I like that. I like that. And we're going to cut into her hair a little bit. Her shoulder is over here. I think that we'll add her shoulder later. Kind of blending a little bit into her hair. I want her hair to disappear. Her hair actually needs to come out a little wider here. right, I think instead of solvent, I'm just going to wipe that brush. That's a good habit for me to get into because that thing, if I load it up with solvent, it just makes such a mess. All right. So how do we do? So now would be a good time to pause it and go back and see if adding that black hair lightened up her face if you want to. I'll be here waiting. I'll even have a sip of my water. So some things that I want to do. I want to break the line of her hair, maybe fix kind of the outline of her hair. But then I see stuff like this, and I think I'm going to add some alizarin crimson in there. I'm not going to call it permanent alizarin crimson every time. You guys know it's a permanent. I'm just going to call it alizarin crimson. But I'm going to add, this line is bugging me. And I'm going to bring it all the way around. I'm going to let that blend into her forehead a little bit. Oops, that last brush stroke got away from me. I watched David Gray fuss around with this, and it was incredible watching him do it. But I watched him fuss around for an hour on this line. The transitions between the shadow of the hair and the forehead. It was incredible. But man, he fussed with this little section right here where this edge, where these edges meet. And it made such a big difference. And I had the same reaction that you guys had when he glopped that big lump of. He used, I think, transparent red oxide mostly in his mixture, but when he glopped that thing down, I was just like, "What is this clown doing?" And then, just like every workshop I've been to, I was stunned and amazed at the result. So I am not the kind of person we've already discussed that would spend that much time. But it's worth it. If you are the kind of person, it's worth it. Oh, Giants hit a solo home run. Looks like Mike Yastrzemski. Bad. Not bad, not bad. This fussing here is about getting the hair to turn around the back of her head. You want to be moving your brush strokes in the direction of the hair. I'm also trying to cover any spots that I see poking through. Maybe let's throw those eyebrows back in there. I'm going to add a little more raw umber to that mixture. They're a little browner than red. Giants are up 2-1. I keep going back and forth on eyebrows. I usually make them too thin, but I noticed that John Ray painting that we did last, her eyebrows are way too thick. So silly. I posted that painting and tagged her as well on that museum app. She hasn't responded yet, but a shit ton of people have, which is nice. Good for my ego. Get a little bit around that eye, I guess. I don't want to go too high because you still got to paint her eyelid. We can put a little back. Recall, I like to do the I like to block in the eyes all black, or at least dark. And then we'll do stuff like painting the iris and all that. I'm not supposed to be messing with the eye at all at this point, but so this is just for your benefit. I'm just joking. That'll give us something to fix. We could do this shape as well. This is kind of an eyelid. That'll give us something to fix. This line is pretty harsh right here. Let's see if we can get something in between. I usually start out a little too dark. Let's use that rosy beige as a base. I have no idea where my phone is, but I hear it chirping. So that's a between color. It's kind of a little cool. Let's just get straight up buff titanium. Really lighten it up. Looks like I gotta squeeze more of that stuff out. Yeah, we got a lot of work to do around those eyes. But let's get everything blocked in. Why don't we add some to her lips as well. Her eyes are quite a bit bigger. Her nose is a lot more narrower towards the highlight. Or that highlight is a lot thinner than what we've got here. So I'm darkening this section up just so that highlight pops. It's a little rough over here. Are we ready for some lips? Let's make some room. put my brushes over there. I think we might clean up some room too. Nah, we got a little room right here. Can you guys see it though? You know, we could actually use this color for the lips as well. I like to use an even smaller brush for the lips. Let's see what I got. If I can find something real quick, we'll use it. If not, we'll use that one. Ooh, I've also got this one. Why don't we use this brush? So, I'm supposed to go dark to light. My dark is going to be transparent red oxide, and she's got really no black spots or no real dark shadows on her lips. And if you look at the catch lights in her eyes, it looks like she's lit from at least two different directions. It's got almost no shadow under her chin. A little bit of shadow here, a little bit of shadow here, a little bit of shadow under here. But man, that light is coming straight ahead. So this is my dark. Let's start with that. I'm just putting that line in there just as a guide. And I remember from the Procreate image that we could have gone a little wider on her lips. It's easier to go wider because we could cut back into the lips if they're too wide with the skin tone. It's hard to like move on, but then I look back and like I look back at what you guys are seeing and I'm like, the skin tones are so off. I need to go back and work on those skin tones. So it's so hard to not do that. And maybe I should go back and fix them. But if I do that, the painting just never gets done. And there's a line. We'll use the same color for the line that goes under her lip. There's a little bit of darkness under her lip. All right, so that's the dark section, which isn't very dark, but I may go back with my little round and make that line darker. But for now, let's go with that. So now let's start lighting it up. I'm going to light it up with buff titanium. See where that takes us. I like the way that's taken us. I'm blocking with my head. Turn my head around a little bit. So we got to do it. What I'm looking at when I look to the left, I'm like, we really need to get those cheekbones darker. Like her face is so flat. But that's kind of the way we operate, right? Remember, I said I was going to paint pretty much her whole face with that base color, and then we would go back and fix it. So her lip really comes up high. We want to make sure that it's in the center where we want it. We can blend down a little bit into that dark bit. Her lips are crooked though, so we got to figure out what we're doing wrong here. I like the thickness of it. Oh, well, my Giants just got tagged out. He was out by a mile. Oh, I live by a dog park. If you can hear those dogs barking. No, my dog is freaking out. Her lips are a lot redder. Maybe that buff titanium is too knocking that color down or that chroma down too much. You kind of got to be. It's hard to do sometimes, but you want to stay. You want to keep paying attention. You want to make sure that you're paying attention to every brushstroke. Like I just dropped a bunch of brushstrokes beside her lip. And my reflex is like, why did you do that? There's no reason to do that. So now it's just something I got to fix. Like all those spots where like I'm going along and then I'm got my dark color in my and I'm painting the hair or the line between the hair and the scalp or the line between the hair and the forehead, and then boop, just out of the blue I'll just drop a big line of that dark hair color in the freaking flesh tone. So it's just like, dude, why would you do that? It's because you're not paying attention. In that spot right there that I just covered up. It's just like, why would you do that? It's because you're not paying attention. So she's got this weird thing where it looks like her bottom lip was out, like she was painting, and then she pulled her bottom lip back into its natural position, and she's got kind of a wrinkle that she's pulled up. I guess on the mucous membrane of her lip, she's kind of pulled it up and it made this kind of white section. Which I don't know if I want to add it or not. Maybe I could add it and just make it not so pronounced. You might not be able to see it in the source image that I'm projecting, but if you look at the source image that I posted in the description, the link's in the description, you could really see it. It's the only thing that bugs me about this whole painting or this whole picture. It's like I don't even how, like I gotta go out of my way to do that. It's like, how did she do it? Me in there. Sorry, I'm not talking, I'm concentrating, I guess. I think that's a good start for the lips. Good enough to fix. Good enough to fix. She's got another V in the reflections as well. I don't want to do the eyes tonight. I want to watch some baseball. And we're going on about 2 hours, so what can we do with our time left? Why don't we see if we could get that cheekbone a little more defined. So I got kind of a base skin tone, which is our rosy beige, and I've added some transparent red oxide, and I want to pink them up a little bit. So I'm going to add a little bit of cad red light. I remember that light bit. Let's put some on there. So I don't dislike that. What do you guys think? I like it. I like it. I like it. So I'm going to roll this. So to make that turn, I'm going in between the highlight and the darker color. So this is, instead of blending, we're putting down a lighter color that's in between the two colors. See that? And then I'm going to keep going a little bit. So I'm going to keep adding that buff titanium to my mixture, and I'm going to keep working my way up. I've got the source image on my right, so I'm looking at it. This brush is a little weird. It's got some kind of thing hanging off of it. Fixed it. So we're painting that turn instead of blending it. So same thing on the other side, right? So you see that big line I've got right here? So that's the darkest spot. But let's make it turn by doing the same thing. So we've got this dark color here. It goes all the way down here. Kind of stops right about here. Kind of goes up into her chin too. So this color comes all the way down. And I'd argue I've got a light on this, so I'm interested to see it without the light. Um, but we're going to do the same thing. We're not going to blend the two colors together. We're going to keep adding. We're going to keep adding a little bit of the. We're basically going to keep mixing the color that's in between that line that I've created and the color next to it. So, and I could do this just by kind of moving where I'm working in the pile down from the darker side of it down into the lighter side of it. So I've got the buff titanium down here, and I've got my really dark mixture up here. And then basically what I'm doing is the lighter I go, the more I mix down, 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 down. And then I just go right over that. I basically break that line is what I'm doing. I'm not going very far into it, into that dark color that I just put down. I guess that would be blending. And it looks kind of blotchy with this brush, but let's just keep going. And then keep looking at your source image. You know, at some point you got to stop, right? At some time, if you don't stop, then you'll make it too light. And then you might also decide that you started too light, you know, and then you want to go back and go back up towards the top of that pile. You should have cleaned your brush, but that's really just a mixture of two colors, so it's easy to recreate. If you don't clean your brush, if you go from the bottom of the pile to the top of the pile and you don't clean your brush, then the whole pile turns into the same color. And then you're like, well, why does it look so flat? It's because you basically just blended your whole pile into one color. Look for those dark spots. So like, I think that's probably the darkest spot there. And now I'm absolutely blending. This is really dark up here. So I clean off my brush, and I'm going to grab this lighter color, and I can see that lighter right along that eyebrow, pretty light. Don't let your napkin get like this. You're not really cleaning your brush if your napkin is so dirty. I'm yes, technically I'm blending, but I'm more knocking down the edges because I don't want those edges or ridges. You might not be able to see it, but like the way the light reflects off it just doesn't look very good. So I'm kind of being fussy and knocking them down. I don't want hard edges here. So yes, I am blending. I don't know why that's such a stigma, or I keep treating it like a stigma. Like I feel a need to tell you guys, I'm not blending, I'm not blending. Just so many artists, you watch so many tutorials and stuff. The way to get more expressive brush strokes is to lay the paint down and then lay the paint down and leave it. But then you take a tutorial from somebody like David Gray, and he basically blends every single brush stroke. So what to do? What to do? Guess I do what I want. So again, I don't want that hard edge here. For a lot of reasons. Even if I wasn't trying to avoid the ridges, it doesn't look good. So how's that look? That's starting to look better. I wish I could see it in natural light. That's I kind of want to quit fussing with it until I can see it tomorrow. What are we at time-wise? 2 hours. It's 8:30. I kind of want to keep painting. I feel like I got a head of steam going. Calculating things like, have I taken my dog for a walk? Yes, I have. Trying to make that nose turn. Get it ready for those highlights. I hear Jeremy yelling at me right now. He's like, "You just knocked all the highlight off there. You just put that highlight on there. You just took it off. Why would you do that?" We're going to put it back. We're going to put it back. How are we doing? I don't think I made that dark under her right eye. I think I made that go up a little too high. We can cut that back. kind of weird under here. It's in the picture. It's yellow. Let's try it. I'm not averse to trying it, but it's a little bit down here too. So I know you want me to keep going, and I want to keep going, but I need to take a little break. We're at 2 hours now, 2 hours and 10 minutes. So I'll tell you what, I probably won't live stream it, but if I start this back up, oh, somebody give me a thumbs up. If I start this back up, I will, I'll absolutely record it and just publish it another night. But I will absolutely record it. It's not looking too bad. Probably a good time for me to take a little check and see how we're doing against the source image. I'm not going to finish it tonight, so might as well stop and take a break. Some things I'm thinking about is if I don't paint again on this, because tomorrow's studio night, if I don't paint again on this, what do I not want to dry and leave hard lines? So let's clean up the hair a little bit. But I think that's a good stopping place. All right, you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for those of you that popped on. I'm not sure who all gave me thumbs ups. I see a few there. But we'll see you soon. Top of the 7th. Giants are up 2-1. Just to remind you the date. It's Tuesday, the 25th of April, 1923. Be sure to like and subscribe. And we'll see you soon. Thank you so much. Bye.